we are mildly interesting guys, and we talk about some stuff. So welcome to the podcast, we call it Joel the Podcast. It's Alex and it's Alex, here for Joel the Podcast. Bzzz. Hello everybody, I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex.
And this is our podcast,
Joel.
You just thinking about hearing that?
Yeah. That'll make sense to the listeners later.
Welcome to episode 118 of Joel the Podcast. We are here today in mid-May. We're only about 6 weeks away from Nathan's wedding, which is very exciting. I wonder if we'll do another episode before then. Probably. We will probably try and squeeze one in there.
Probably one, yeah.
So, anyway, but that's our time of recording, I guess. Who knows at the time of listening or time of posting. So episode 118, and I guess, yeah, let's what's the first thing we do? I mean, I've done an episode. I haven't done 117 of these beforehand. What do we do next?
We could continue to...
Well, actually, the first thing I want to do is let everyone know that Nathan owes me at least $1, right? Or maybe $2 now?
It does feel like it's $2. I don't remember what the second dollar was.
Yeah. Nathan owes me some amount of money. Send us an email to let us know how much Nathan owes me.
I know what the second dollar was Joel the Game, episode 115.
Oh, that's right. The highest stakes Joel the Game, yeah. So Nathan owes me $2.
Oof.
So I just wanted to alert everyone to that fact. All right, anyway, go on.
Yeah, the thing we normally would do next is the Sports Minute.
Okay. Why are you saying normally?
Well, I just because that's what we normally do.
Okay, I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
First, why don't we tell the people what we're doing this episode and what's so monumental about it?
Ooh, okay. And that actually, that may affect the Sports Minute. I've got
exactly. That's what I'm going to get to after.
You may have the same proposal for me.
I do too, and we might be the same thing. Yeah. All right, what are we doing?
All right. Well, this is a very special episode of Joel the Podcast. I think we're doing something that we have literally never done before. It's probably honestly a world first. I've never heard of this being done in any other podcast either.
This isn't just monumental for us. This is like historically monumental.
Absolutely. The Monumentalist. Sounds like a TV show from 2006.
It sounds like a guy. Remember at Purdue, our freshman orientation, they had a hypnotist come.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's what somebody like that would be called, the Monumentalist.
All right, now we need to have some feature of the podcast. It's too iconic, the name Joel the Podcast. We can't rename it to the Monumentalists, but there's got to be something about it,
Hi, hello, everybody. I'm Monumentalist number 1.
I'm Monumentalist number 2. And this is our podcast.
We're not doing that.
All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, what we're doing...
It's got to be a running joke, though. We'll have to try and toss that in future episodes.
Great. Love that. So what we're doing is 2 different topics in one episode. So the first half of the podcast, We're going to be talking about something. And then in the middle, we're just going to stop talking about that thing and talk about something different.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And, yeah, this is truly monumental. And that, even hearing you, I knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
And hearing you say it still, gave me goosebumps. That was crazy.
For sure.
So I would say, yeah. And so, maybe this is your proposal too, but you're essentially, listeners are getting 2 episodes for the price of 1, even though it'll probably be about the length of one normal episode. it's essentially 2 episodes if you think about it enough. So really, I was thinking we should do 2 sports minutes, but instead of being sports minutes, they should be sports half minutes.
Exactly what I was
like
thinking.
One
of.
now. Yeah, exactly. We're on the same page.
Yeah.
1 now, and 1 when we switch topics.
Absolutely. And you know what?
All right.
I had pulled up our email, and we in fact have 2 emails.
Incredible. I was just thinking that too.
So
wow. The listeners have smiled upon our endeavor here.
Yeah.
Unintentionally, I guess.
It was meant to be.
All right. So why don't we start with our first sports half minute? You ready?
Yep.
All right. So baseball season is in full swing now, pun intended. The Phillies have the best record in the majors.
Wow.
So just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
The NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs are going on now, which no one cares about. And most importantly, the WNBA regular season has started.
Absolutely.
So, those are the sports highlights for our first.
Wow.
And you know what? I'll let you give the second sports half minute just for symmetry's sake.
Sure.
'Cause I kind of talked through that whole one.
That's
all right.
Fair enough.
All right, let's hear our first email.
Here we go. The first email for the first half of this podcast comes to us from Cephalopodmaster. He subject lines this email, "I am a dumbass." And he says, "Hello, Alex and Alex at Joel the Podcast. What are the 10 things you least want to eat?" And it's funny that he should send us this email. It's not what we're talking about this time. It's actually not that funny. No, we were talking about a tier list before this, not a top 10. So never mind.
It's actually funny. Well, you know what? Actually, it's not that funny.
Turns out it was something different.
On second thought.
But yeah, this is a great question. I think this is worth at least half an episode, if not a full episode.
Yeah, we can talk about this off the air.
Mm-hmm.
And we did just do a top 10 list last week, so I don't know if we want to do another one immediately coming up.
Right.
But this is definitely good episode fodder. So
yeah, in fact,
top 10 foods I least want to eat, or at least even if it, you're right, even if it doesn't end up being a full episode, definitely some good content.
Right. And I was just looking based on the date of this email and when I think I uploaded our last episode, which was the top 10. I don't think at time
8 days ago
of writing this email that he knew that's what was coming.
What was the date of the email?
April 24th.
Yeah, so that's definitely before.
But yeah,
the
far
previous
far
episode came out.
precedes. So
sorry, I just have our YouTube channel pulled up right now.
yeah.
And I just want to comment on the fact that Joel the Podcast episode 116 has 30 views for some unknown reason.
Whoa, that's
Episode 117 has 8 views and 115 has 5 views. But for some reason 116 has 30 views. So anyway, that's kind of cool.
That's kind of absurd because the title of that usually when we have an episode with a lot of views, it's because like the title is something that people would kind of search for, you know? But that one's the haiku title.
Yeah, so I'm going back through our old episodes to see if when the last one we had that has 30 views is.
Yeah.
So far I haven't found one. Our sketch, Joel the Podcast, the sketch, that's what it's called. The sketch has 40 views.
Wow.
So this is actually like close to that level. Episode 62, our best advice yet, has 27 views. I'm really not seeing anything with 30. I wonder if this is our most viewed episode. Okay, nope. Joel the Podcast, episode 43, How to Kill Chickens, 35 views.
Yeah, that's the one I think of. It's like somebody searching for like a practical, information is going to come up with that possibly.
I don't think maybe. I think that our podcast is not likely to be high in anyone's cookies.
Yeah.
Joel the Commercial, 82 views. So obviously that's our most viewed video, I would assume.
That also, I don't know if this
Joel
counts
the theme
towards
song,
the views,
41 views.
but Joel the Commercial auto plays when you visit the channel.
Ah,
so
okay,
that could
a good point.
contribute.
And episode 1, Sell Your Baby, 32 views.
Yeah.
So there are actually 2 episodes. This is now our 3rd most viewed episode, Joel episode 116.
Hey, I mean, if it weren't for having posted 2 episodes since then that did very poorly, I might have thought that we were on the upswing.
Well, we've only posted 1 episode since then.
What?
Which
This is the second
this is our
episode
second,
since then. You're right.
This is 118.
Yeah.
So, and who knows? The 117 was only posted 8 days ago, so maybe it's just needs
it's
some
on
time
its
to-
way.
I mean, 8 days is a very short amount of time in YouTube terms.
For sure.
Um,
I feel like
when we record our next episode, 117 will probably have like 40 views.
Yeah. It's only up from there for sure.
All right, that was a good tangent.
Great.
Is that all the email says? Just says what are the top 10 foods you would least like to eat?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So thanks. That's coming soon for sure.
Great. Okay, you want to get into our first half episode here?
Sure. I feel like there's a good speaking of episode 116 tangent, but we
that's
went
true.
on that one
So-
for so long. But
For all 30 of you who listened to episode 116, you know that we did not get through all the advice that we were sent. We got through only 4 questions, and we did have 6 prepared. When I say prepared, I just mean like we had pulled them out of email. So we are going to begin our episode today by answering the second 2 questions. So any other information before we jump right into it?
no, I think that's kind of the info we needed to really, we did 4 questions last time. We only have 2 left, so that's half an episode. I think the listeners are
All right.
seeing where this is going.
Why don't you read our first question here?
Great. Who's this one coming to us from, by the way?
Oh, this one is coming to us from Megan.
Megan. So Megan writes to us, says, Dear Alex and Alex, I was eating lunch yesterday when a shark fell through the roof of my house. Thankfully, I was able to get my katana out and kill it before it attacked me. Great work for that. Let's see. I later found out this was due to a sharknado that went past my house. The thing is, this is the 3rd time this month that this has happened, hence why I had my katana ready. What do I do? Is my only option just to move? Thanks, Megan. So yeah, like I said, kind of well done for the response there. I definitely have not been so prepared, but from the sounds of it, kind of makes sense.
Well, so that makes me wonder, like, what happened the first time?
Yeah.
How did you, presumably the first time you didn't have the katana ready, so...
Well,
how did you
the thing I'm wondering
handle
is,
that?
this is the 3rd time you have the katana ready. The 2nd time you have a katana, but you're probably not ready with it. You wouldn't expect. But the first time, did she even have the katana?
Good question. Well, I mean, I don't know how else she would be still writing this email if she didn't have a katana.
That's probably true. So I guess, yeah, lucky that it was someone who happened to have a katana ready. Somewhere.
Well,
in the
I would
house.
guess that if you live in Sharknado country, you kind of know
It comes with
that
the
you need it.
Yeah, that's like owning
So-
a bunch of like
Anyone who doesn't
boats and stuff
Go
if you
ahead.
live in hurricane country or whatever.
Right. Anyone who doesn't own a katana who moves to that area is just not going to last long.
Mhm.
So, so do you have any initial thoughts about what Megan should do or can do?
Yeah, I think it's obviously we're not shark experts.
Sure.
So
this is not shark.
this is
advice.
not shark advice. But I tend to think, because I don't personally live in Sharknado Alley, as I believe it's called, um,
Hmm.
that the sharks actually pose much of a threat.
And by the way, for anyone thinking, anyone wondering where Sharknado Alley, is that what you said? Sharknado Alley is
Yeah.
located.
Uh-huh.
It's not where you think. Anyway, go on.
that,
Sorry.
great. Thanks. So I always thought, this is just me seeing it in the, in the news and whatnot, but I always thought that they
Mhm.
didn't actually
Right.
pose much.
Because you're watching the news all the time.
Well, only for the shark. Okay, I say the news. I'm sorry. What I mean is YouTube clips that come up after the Sharknadoes.
Sure.
You find the compilations.
Right.
We all do it. It's.
I know you're just trying to sound more like informed and educated than you actually are.
I know about the news. I've watched news
When I watch
before.
the news on the channel that the news are on, which we all know.
Yes. Channel 7. So,
All right, so go on. So I've interrupted you twice now. So go actually say what you're trying to
yeah,
say.
the point I'm trying to make is that, like, I didn't think that the sharks posed much of a threat once they landed. And I guess, to be fair, she didn't say that it landed. It just fell through the roof. So maybe it was still, like, swimming in the wind.
Okay. I was like, what is the other option besides it landed? Okay, yeah, that's certainly possible.
Look, I've seen the news, right? I know what happens when sharks fall through roofs.
Right. And by news, I mean clips of sharks swimming through the wind.
This is why,
So-
for the record, this is why we start with the more normal advice questions usually, because we're just like, we're
Right.
not in our groove. We're just completely off the rails already. Whatever. Here we go.
Okay, so go ahead.
No, I was just teeing you up. Poorly.
Okay, so sorry, that's okay. So I mean, my impression wasn't that, like, Megan wants to move because, or wants this to stop happening because it's dangerous.
Right.
It's more just because, like, A, it's annoying because it interrupts whatever you're doing.
Sure.
And probably messes up whatever you're doing. But also B, like, your roof keeps getting broken. So yeah, I'm just like curious. Like that's my interpretation of the question. So it's not like, oh, this is so dangerous that sharks keep falling on my house.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like, but that's also how I interpreted it landed. Like it just fell through the yeah, it just fell through the roof there.
Right. Right.
So it wasn't swimming. So yeah, that's my interpretation.
Here's, I think, a key piece of information that Megan left out that I'm just assuming this isn't the case, but what I would ask is, does Megan have a pool? Because if yes, you'd kind of imagine that the sharks would try and aim for it. Maybe that, like, her neighbor has a pool or something, and that's kind of like guiding them astray. I don't know, but
Okay, so that's certainly one option for Megan. It's not like it's not foolproof per se. Like it's not like if you do this, definitely guaranteed no sharks will come through your roof.
Right.
But yeah, getting a pool is a great. And you want to put big, like, walls around the pool,
Right.
so that when the shark lands in there and all the water splashes up, it still just goes back into the pool.
Yeah, for sure.
So to be clear, you'll never be able to use this pool.
Yeah, because sharks might fall into it.
Right.
I mean, presumably, if there's some sharks that are in there, they'll just, like, still be in there, right? I don't think they can get out again.
Well, I was thinking, yeah, no, they can't get out. I was thinking that after the shark falls in there, you go in and, like, dispose of it.
Maybe you have
like
a pool with a trap door.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
So the only problem with that is then you have to refill it with water every time, and pools have a lot of water in them. Like someone was telling me the other day, like, that if you try to fill it up with, like, your hose, it takes, like, days.
Wow.
So maybe there's some kind of... Okay, here's an idea. It's like a trap door, but the bottom is like a cagey thing. So it's not just, it doesn't just open. So all the water goes into like a tank.
Uh-huh.
But then the shark is, out of water now. And so, of course, it's going to die eventually.
Oh.
And then you just get rid of it and then put all the water comes back up.
So the trap door is actually for the water, not for the shark.
Right.
Wow. That's good. I like that. That's an option.
Okay.
It's not the best option still, we'd say, right? Like
Right. Yeah. So what I will say is there's really, I mean, I think there are like shark defense systems out there that you can get where it's like it'll like shoot the shark out of the sky, like automatically shoot it out of the sky if it's coming towards your house.
Right.
Those are, so that's an option, but that's very expensive, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And so outside of that, I'm not aware of anything you can do to, I guess, prevent the sharks from coming.
Right.
So you can have the pool. You can paint like anti-shark images onto your roof.
That's true.
Which, off the top, what are some anti-shark images that you would recommend?
Yeah, it's risky. I would paint like a shark but upside down, so that if it's,
Okay. Well, so wouldn't that depend upon which direction the shark is coming from?
That's the trick. That's exactly why I was hesitating for a second, because like on the face of it, it's the perfect thing, right? Because the shark sees
Obviously,
another
the shark
rotates its body to like be in the same orientation, but that just changes the entire aerodynamics, and so it'll just plummet, right? So
right. So I mean, I guess what I would say is on one, so maybe I don't know exactly what would happen if you did this. Maybe you do, but on one, like your roof is like two, pieces, like that come together at the top. So on one side you paint the shark upside down, and then on the other side you paint the shark like the opposite way from the one side. So no matter which direction the shark's coming from, there's one shark that's facing the right way, but one shark that's facing the wrong way.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the shark would do in that scenario, though.
Yeah, I mean, you have to imagine that some of them would maybe like flop side to side. Some of them might be doing like a corkscrew. Either way, that's probably enough to throw off the aerodynamics.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good idea.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, if you're looking for like absolute, like, no more shark solution, I would say you would have to move.
Yeah.
South, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So. Okay. Yeah, I think that kind of covers that. Anything you want to add? Anything else you want to add or ask or comment on for this one?
You could get a roommate. Make them deal with some of the sharks.
Sure.
It's kind of the lowest effort option, I suppose.
My turn for the sharks this month.
Yeah.
What was that?
Here's the katana. Keep it in your room.
Yeah. You do the dishes this month. I'll deal with the sharks.
With the sharks. And the roof repairs. I mean, if you don't have roof insurance in Sharknado Alley, sorry. Can you imagine buying roof insurance in Shark Alley? That'd be an amateur mistake.
Well, Shark Alley, it makes sense. Just Sharknado Alley, it doesn't make sense.
No, it's the other way, right? You'd want roof insurance in Sharknado Alley. Because of the sharks.
Right. Okay, yeah. I guess in my mind I was thinking that, like, no insurance company would ever give you an insurance policy in Sharknado Alley.
That's true. I mean, yeah, your Sharknado roof insurance, it's got to be through the roof. All right. Let's move on before we say anything else like that.
All right. That's a good... Well, I don't know that that'll stop us, but... Let's move on anyway. What is the name of the person that this question comes to us from?
It comes to us from Timothy.
Timothy. Okay,
Yep.
great. Timothy writes, Hello, Alex and Alex. My entire friend group secretly learned Japanese without telling me, and now they will only speak Japanese when I'm around. I don't know any Japanese, so it's clearly a big prank to get back at me for the time I stole all of their money. Since these two actions are clearly not fair and balanced, I need to come up with another prank to get back at them. What are your suggestions for revenge? Illegal suggestions only, please. Thanks. I forgot the name. Was it Jonathan or something?
It's Timothy, but pretty close. Not bad.
Timothy. Okay, if you say so. Thanks, Timothy. Okay, yes. Thank you, Timothy, for this question.
Yeah.
I think. So I guess we should make a legal disclaimer up front, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not lawyers, and so this is not legal advice.
Right.
It's illegal advice. So here's our illegal advice. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I guess my first thought after reading this is, well, actually, so when in the first half of it, I kind of thought, I wonder if like he had some kind of amnesia,
mm-hmm.
which caused him to think that all his friends randomly started speaking Japanese, when in reality, just they all normally have always spoke Japanese.
Interesting, yeah.
Or it was some other situation like that where they didn't just suddenly start speaking Japanese. They had always been speaking Japanese, but he didn't realize it. However, since the question kind of went in a different direction after that, it's a prank for the time that he stole all of their money. So he says, since these two actions are clearly not fair and balanced. Now, I would agree with that, but I think maybe not in the way that he's thinking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that maybe it would be unbalanced. Well, I guess unbalanced in the other way, because like learning Japanese and only speaking that around him, like, while it might be a little bit mean or like, I don't know, you're excluding him, it's definitely, I would say, a lot less of a problem than having all of your money stolen.
Right. And also knowing for a fact who stole it, apparently.
Right, and also for some reason not calling the police on them and still remaining their friend,
mm-hmm.
which is a very interesting situation. All right, so I mean, those are kind of my first thoughts. What do you have any first thoughts or comments?
Yeah, so what's interesting to me, I think it speaks a lot to Timothy's character here, is that, you know, like we said, he's clearly already kind of misjudging some of the scale and the impact of things going on here. But also, you know, illegal suggestions only, please. That's just, you know, recipe for disaster if you're being honest. I think we could come up with some, you know, pretty intense stuff that really would only escalate this feud if his friends are all willing to like literally learn another language. Who knows what level of dedication they're capable of next. So I would, you know, obviously we're still going to answer the question, but I would first issue a warning that, you know, you're asking for illegal suggestions, but be careful of the ramifications here. I feel like there's some definite issues coming down the line if this continues this way. So, you know.
Sure. So let me ask you, what are your thoughts on the possibility, excuse me, that they didn't learn to speak Japanese, they've just always been speaking Japanese, and he just didn't realize or forgot or something?
That is kind of a compelling case to examine, because now I don't know why he would explain it this way, he clearly doesn't know, but if the revenge by his friends was instead somehow making him forget that he spoke Japanese, now I feel like that is closer to on par with stealing all of your money. I maybe would tip the scales still in favor of stealing all of their money, because there's like multiple people whose money was stolen there, but like, you know, forgetting the entire language you spoke, I mean, sure, he still seems to know English at least, but that's a pretty core, you know, part of you as a person, I would think. So,
Sure.
pretty intense as well.
Yeah. So I guess without more information, I would say just like consider that possibility or look for evidence of that,
Hmm.
Timothy.
Yeah.
But okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's assume that they really did start speaking Japanese as a prank
Right.
in retribution for having all their money stolen. And let's ignore the fact that that is not as bad as stealing all their money.
Right.
And let's come up with some illegal suggestions for how he can get revenge on them. And I would say the gimme off the bat, the first thing that comes to my mind is steal all their money again.
Precisely what I was
mean,
thinking.
obviously you got away with it the first
Yeah.
time, and they're somehow still friends with you.
Yep.
So, and you clearly have the know-how and means to do that. So that's my first.
Certainly
thought.
the most profitable option here as well. Unless you want to get really, really dark, which, I would advise not to do. But again, this isn't legal advice, so
Sure.
your results may vary.
Yeah. So the other thing that came to my mind, but I guess it's not illegal, so wouldn't really count, but would be to learn another language and speak it to the friends.
Right.
That they don't, and a language that they don't know. Kind of tit for tat kind of thing. Excuse me. Any other thoughts?
I think the most frustrating would be is if somebody did that with like Russian, because that's just an entirely, just like Japanese, it's a different alphabet. You've got to learn an entirely new framework of things. That I feel like would just be a good, not illegal but frustrating bit of revenge there. Do you know this? I'm trying to dial into the Japan theme here, the Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Is there
Sure.
in Epcot, how they've got all the countries around the world kind of thing going on? Is there a Japan in Epcot?
Yeah. Well, I don't know is the answer to that question, although I can't really imagine that there's not. I mean, it seems like there definitely that would be like a big, like Japan is a major country in terms of culture, in terms of world things, in terms of what countries people are aware of. Like, so I would be surprised to find out there's not.
Well, I mean, let's just
way.
assume there is for sake of argument, right?
Sure.
So I think what you do is you convince your friends to, you've all, forgiven each other or whatever. They clearly think they've gotten even with you. You all go together to Epcot in Disney World, and you go to Japan, except the catch is you have paid all of the employees of the Japan section to actually speak a different language so that all of your friends think that they don't actually know Japanese and they're so frustrated. I don't know if this is illegal necessarily, but
yeah, I was gonna say also not illegal.
Yeah. Let's just say you coerce all of the employees,
right,
blackmail them all, kidnap their families or whatever. Just throw in some petty crimes and theft while you're at it, just to really spice it up, But the key is you've got to convince them that they don't actually know Japanese, so that they feel really dumb for having gone through all this effort for a prank.
Sure. And then just to kind of wrap up this section of not actually illegal things, learn Japanese yourself. That'll really get back at them, because then you'll know what they're saying, but they won't know that you know what they're saying.
Yeah.
So it'll really be really be a good prank.
Yeah, you can learn Japanese, but they can't learn all their money back.
That's true. Okay, and let's see. Let's come up with one more possible prank that's actually illegal that he could do. I would say you could... I'm thinking in some way of framing the friends for something. What would be like a good thing to frame them for?
Let me go on a bit of a tangent, actually. It'll come back
Okay.
around. It'll be very relevant. I saw.
I mean, it doesn't need to, but okay.
Let me just talk about something completely different. It's actually, we've been going for 30 minutes, so it's time to swap. We're done. Just cut it off. No. Okay, so this will come back to it. I watched this YouTube video recently. I was drawn in by the title, and actually because it was like nearly what I would consider the perfect YouTube video, but not quite. And let me tell you, it was called. Are you familiar with like the bean sculpture in Chicago? That like big shiny bean.
Yeah, been there
Yeah,
many
yeah.
times.
So the video was.
It's called Cloudgate,
Yes,
actually.
you're right. The video was called "How to Melt the Bean and Why We Should." And let me tell you, my perfect, absolute perfect YouTube video, the genre of my perfect YouTube video is perfectly captured by a like 15 to 20 minute video titled "How to Melt the Bean," that just tells you how to melt the bean. You know, that's all it needs to be. To me, it was almost ruined a little bit by the justification. I mean, it was still like
Sure.
a good video and whatever. So like, go watch that, I guess. But you know, anyway, I bring this up because I think melting the bean and framing your friends for it is like the perfect act of, you know, significant public vandalism that doesn't actually harm, you know, specific individuals or whatever, in the same way that like you could destroy, you know, a house or a car or something, but like the owner of that house or car would be, you know, face significant setbacks. But the bean is just kind of sitting there. So if you could melt it and frame your friends, it's the perfect crime.
So are houses, by the way. They're also just kind of sitting there. But let me ask you this: how do you melt the bean?
So
Just like broad terms.
yeah, the video, and I actually disagree with this method, by the way, but the video proposed that the average microwave, or maybe it was toaster? I think it was toaster. The average toaster is capable of putting out about 1,200 watts or something like that. And the bean is made of, I don't know how many, like thousands of kilograms of stainless steel. And so like doing the math, you know, to get the bean to, I don't know, 1,500 degrees or whatever it would be that melts stainless steel, you would have to put like 100 people with toasters perfectly transferring all of the heat into the bean for like 17 hours or something like that. I don't know. All of those numbers are probably like entirely wrong, but the point is,
Yeah, that's fine. I was just looking for the general.
yeah,
method.
you get like 100 toasters and put all of their heat into the bean for a prolonged period of time. Obviously, it would be a lot longer than that, probably even with more toasters, because I don't think any of that math accounted for like heat dissipating from the bean. So like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that wouldn't happen if as soon as you touched a toaster to it, it would stop dissipating any heat. So
You'd
that's
probably
fine.
wrap it with some foil or something to keep it all in, and then you'd be good to
Right.
go.
So let me ask you this, just off the top, how would you frame someone for doing that?
Yeah. Well, you could wait when they fall asleep. I mean, and this makes it even more illegal. You drug them and kidnap them, and glue them to the toasters, and then like lean them up against the bean. To be honest, you probably don't even
Well,
have to
presumably
melt
the bean
it.
is melted by that point.
You just have to frame them for attempting to melt the bean, which I'm sure is probably also illegal. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, but that's probably not as fun as framing them for actually melting the bean.
That's true.
So yeah, I mean the thing is, I'm not quite sure how you pull this off, right? With the whole issue of the bean, you know, you would if you had 100 people standing next to the bean with toasters for 17 hours, you would just get arrested. Right. So assuming you found some way around that that makes sense, right? You just like people somehow are not paying attention or are somehow okay with you melting the bean for a time period. You drug and kidnap the friends and then just take them to the site and give them the toasters. Yeah. So that's a good answer, I think. So I guess we have steal all their money, our options are steal all their money, not illegal but learn another language, or C, melt the bean and frame them for it. So let us know what you do, please, with photo evidence. We would love to see, in a legal way, of course. We would love to legally see.
Yep.
We don't want to participate in any crimes. So yeah, I guess that's the end of our advice here. Any final comments on the advice, this question or either question or the advice in general?
No, I think we really nailed it. I would just, throw in here, obviously, the bean is the preferred thing to melt to, frame your friends for. But obviously, if you don't live very close to Chicago, it may be more convenient to melt a different large public art installation.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's all fair game. So.
Sure. All right. So that concludes our first half of our episode, our first mini half episode. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Alex. And this has been
Joel.
Bzz. Hello, everybody. I'm Alex. And this is our podcast, Joel. So, presumably you're still listening from about 30 seconds ago when we concluded the first half of the episode. But here we are in the second half of our episode, and why don't we kick it off with our second sports half minute. And this one is going to be all you, Nathan, so let me pull up my timer here, and are you ready?
I forgot that I was going to be doing this. Let me real quick Google some sports news.
All right, and we'll expect your expert and in-depth commentary about the news that you find.
Right. So I have Googled some sports new by mistake, and I clicked on this article. Okay. I'm ready.
All right, I'm going to start the time, so you better be ready. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so the headline that's catching my attention the most here is Tom Brady is about to make his broadcasting debut when the Dallas Cowboys take on the Cleveland Browns. Now, let me tell you what. If there were two teams that I would most want to see Tom Brady talk about for the duration of their game, it is the Dallas Cowboys and the Cleveland Browns. I am so thrilled for this to hit the airwaves. I think we are all about to be absolutely blown away by Tom's next career milestone here. That's all there is to it. Simply just that.
Excellent. Well done. We'll be sure to carry that live when it happens.
Yeah, we'll be commentating on his commentary.
All right. Why don't you read us our email for the second half of the episode?
Yeah, you know what? I was mistaken. This is actually 2 emails. I believe he may have actually
oh my goodness
replied to his own email a couple hours later, which is
2 for the price of 1 within a 2 for the price of 1.
It's like he intended this to be this meta. It's pretty incredible. So let me just kick this off here. Obviously, I kind of gave it away a bit, but these emails come to us from Cephalopod Master. Subject line for both of these emails, because they are in fact responses to each other, is I am a dumbass. Part 1 says, what if you are both Squidwards? Now, that's the entire email. Do you know what that means?
I have no idea what that means, really. Maybe like my first and really only thought. Okay, I have two possible thoughts. Yeah. Neither of them make much sense. But the first one is that we are like squids.
Uh-huh.
Like Squidward. So that doesn't make any sense. But the second one is that we're both like Squidward's kind of like a curmudgeon.
Right.
So maybe he's like, what if you were both like, cranky and stuff?
So like
that doesn't make much sense.
If we were to pick the SpongeBob character that best represents each of us, would we have both picked Squidward? I think probably neither of us would.
Yeah, no, neither of us is Squidward. By the way, so the other day I was talking about SpongeBob episodes with some people, including my brother, and somebody brought up the episode where Squidward moves to a town where like everyone is a squid.
Yeah.
Do you remember that
Oh,
episode? Yeah. And my brother said everyone in the town is a Squidward. So maybe the question just means which like squid character from that town are you? Because they're all different Squidwards. All right, so let's hear the follow-up email because I assume there's some kind of explanation there.
I don't think so, but this next one makes more sense.
Okay.
He says, "Hi, Alex and Alex at Jill the podcast." Wait, did I read the first email right? Probably I did. I can.
David's listening and he's just like, what is going on?
All right, never mind. Here we go. Hi, Alex and Alex at Joel the podcast. The top 10 chess pieces video was, I think, a great success, so congratulations. I am, however, surprised that this podcast did not make the cut for your top 10 chess pieces list when the Earth got at least an honorable mention. What was the justification behind dropping this podcast off the top 10 list of chess pieces?
Well, I mean, first of all, this podcast isn't a chess piece, so...
Yeah. That's probably
our lists only contain real, like, actual chess pieces, so I don't know why you would expect us... I mean, the Earth is an actual chess piece, so I don't know why you would expect us to include this podcast. It's kind of my thought.
I mean, in a way, up until that point, it wasn't a chess piece, but that previous episode was a piece on chess. So following the release of that episode,
which
we may need to reconsider. I'm still not certain that it would make the top 10, because if I remember, we had I think number 10 was a pawn, if I remember right. And I'm not certain that the podcast as a whole, containing that episode, which was a piece on chess, has yet surpassed the legacy of the pawn.
Right, and I would say you just alluded to it, but even though that episode is a piece on chess, or also could be worded as a chess piece, our podcast as a whole is not really a chess piece. Yeah. Just that episode is. So you could argue that our podcast, that episode is a chess piece, but again, I would agree with you. I don't think that it's any better than a pawn. It's certainly worse than a pawn. So yeah, I think I would say that's a good point. I really didn't even consider it that way.
It's a couple different pieces of justification there.
Get it?
Yep.
Pieces of justification.
Good.
Okay. All right. Is that all that's in the email?
That is.
Okay. You confirmed that the first email you read it correctly?
I don't know what I said the first time, but the email reads, "What if you are both Squidwards?"
Yeah, that's what you said.
Cool.
Or something almost exactly like that. You might have said, "What if you were both Squidwards?" But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, essentially. Okay. All right. Yeah, so please let us know what you meant by that, cephalopod. I would love to. I'm curious to know. It's probably a reference to something we said in a previous episode and I've now forgotten.
What if that's just like a really great inside joke that neither of us understand because we just this like masterfully crafted
and by the way,
we just completely flopped.
If so, I apologize. But if you are interested in sending us an email like Cephalopod, please do so. Our email can be found on our website. which is alexandalex@joelthepodcast.github.io/alexandalex@joelthepodcast.website/index.html. So head on over there, click on something, and send us an email.
Yeah, for sure.
We forgot to say that the first mini episode, so.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it after the first email. That was a major oversight on I think both our parts there, but luckily we got it in here.
For sure. Yes. All right. So I guess for our second mini episode here, which is probably going to be shorter than our first mini episode, we are going to be. I guess we didn't really confirm this is what we want to do, but I think we'll be doing short stories. Does that sound right? Yes. All right. So I assume you're pulling up the John Fox?
Yes, I have to figure out what I normally Google to do it, because it turns out the John Fox...
Probably the John Fox short story generator, something like that, or story ideas or something like that.
I got it. There's like a whole rest of the website that comes up if you just Google the John Fox, so I had to be more specific.
As usual, shout out to the John Fox. Thank you for use of your website. We will continue to milk it for content.
Also, before we begin, I think I complained about this the last time, but he changed the layout of this page. It used to be that you clicked a button and an idea would pop up, and now it's just a big list of ideas. So, dislike that. Please put it back.
I just realized that the dehumidifier has been on in my basement this entire time, and I've listened to previous episodes. I normally don't even notice it because it's on all the time, so it's just background noise in my mind, but I've listened to previous episodes, and it's really annoying sometimes. So I just turned it off, but it's been on there for 50 minutes, so my apologies.
Yeah, sometimes I run the little noise remover plugin, but if it's not immediately obvious to me in the first few seconds, which is the only thing that I check in an episode, then yeah, probably doesn't sound that great. Anyway.
All right, so sorry.
The way this works now, that it's just a big list of things, is that there are 118
Right, so I pick a number or something, right? Let's go with number 50.
Number 50. Interesting.
Excuse me.
All right, so here is our prompt. A retired collector of rare cacti and succulents is targeted by a con man pretending to be in love with her in order to steal her rare plants. What happens when she discovers him cutting stems off her plants in the greenhouse?
Okay. I had a hard time processing the first part of that because it was so dense. So there's a collector, a woman, I guess, who's a collector of rare plants, specifically succulents. Is that what it
succulents
says?
And cacti.
And cacti. And so there's a con man. This is wild already. There's a con man.
This sounds like we were given a prompt about a plant collector, and we came up with 2 or 3 twists.
Right, I was gonna say this sounds like something we would come up with. So the con man wants to steal her plants, so he pretends to be in love with her, and she then catches him cutting off what does it say, clippings or something?
Yeah, so what happens when she discovers him cutting stems off her plants in the greenhouse to propagate them, I guess.
Yes. Sure. There's an interesting couple ways we can go here. I mean, honestly, one of the interesting things that comes to my mind first is that she has a cheat, you don't know this in the beginning of the story. The story is just set up like a normal love story with a sinister twist until this point. But turns out that she actually has become this collector of rare plants through highly illegal activities, and she's actually a ruthless crime lord. And so she catches him stealing it and just kills him. And as you're, if this is a movie watching or if it's a book reading this story, you're think you know where it's going, and it just totally like there's been hints about this, but you didn't notice until now, and then it just totally takes a left turn and actually becomes like this like serious crime drama about this woman's like crime
Yeah.
empire and the agents who were trying to steal from her. Like this guy turns out this guy wasn't working alone and he was sent by this other crime family. That's my first thought.
I mean, that's pretty incredible. So it's just like this like basic romance, story, and then there's I think I'm just restating what you said. just, there's like the
That's
twist
good.
of like he steals the plants, and you're like, oh no, it's like what's she gonna do when he finds out? She's gonna be like devastated that he was just using her, and then just like bam, he's like murdered.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's great. That's great.
I'm kind of torn between what do you think? Like, should the confrontation where she catches him be like really like tear filled and like emotional, and she eventually shoots him, or should she just be like, "Are you kidding me?" and then just shoots him?
No, I think you've got to have before this in the movie like a bunch of like close calls of him almost getting caught, and she like at some point makes some joke of like, oh, I if I didn't know any better, I'd think you were like out here, stealing the plants, and he just has to like laugh it off and be like, it's but so like by the time that he does get caught, there's been enough like tension that you think it's gonna like turn into this whole thing, it's gonna like blow up, and then yeah, like he just gets like wrecked immediately.
That sounds good. All right. This is interesting because like I'm thinking like how would you market a story like this, because you can't reveal the twist without ruining it. But if you market it as like a rom-com or whatever, and then it turns out to not be that, then people are going to be upset.
You draw in the absolute wrong audience. All right, so it's still a rom-com, right? It turns out that the like police chief that's been investigating her this whole time is her ex-husband, right?
Oh, nice.
So they broke up a while ago as she stole her first plant or something from this like rare collection and like shows him, and he's like, I can't believe you did this. You have to like, give it back or whatever. And she's like, no, I loved stealing this plant. I want to like, make it.
No, stealing plants is my passion.
Stealing plants is my passion, as it turns out. And it's just like this big like inner conflict in him, and he's like, all right, listen, I care about you too much to turn you in, but if you're going to make this your life, I can't be a part of it. And so they have to split up. And I think the only problem is if he's like the lead investigator on her case, why doesn't he just like know and catch her immediately? Is he like conflicted and sabotaging the investigation, or like what's going on here?
I think that he like ever since he when they broke up, it was kind of one of those things of like, next time I see you we'll be enemies kind of thing. And like he doesn't, even though he saw her steal the plant or whatever, he doesn't have any evidence, so like he can't really arrest her. It's just kind of his word against hers. Excuse me. So he's like out to like actually catch her in the act, and of course she knows that, so she's not like gonna do anything that he would know. So my question is this: do we like see this guy at all in the first half of the movie?
So I think,
I don't know why I'm saying it's a movie now, but do we see this guy at all in the first half of the movie?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think as soon as So here's how it works, right? You start off with kind of the rom-com with the collector and the con man. And there's like some
Uh-huh.
kind of build up there, but it takes like 15 or 20 minutes and that's it. You're like, wow, this is going really fast. Like, what's the rest of this movie going to be about? And like 20 minutes in or
Mm-hmm.
something, she shoots him. And then you're
Right.
just like, whoa, what's going on? And suddenly you cut to this guy, and it's like a report landing on his desk of like, hey, this suspected like mob guy just turned up in the river dead. You know, forensic has no idea what's going on here. It looks like, you know, he's been murdered, but there's no signs. Like, does she have some like weird plant way of killing him instead of just shooting him? Maybe, I don't know. That's a bit too weird. But like, so like
I think.
he gets murdered,
Go ahead.
and the cop guy, the lead investigator, is like, oh, he had ties to this like crime family who is for some reason focused on plant crime. And he's suddenly just like, oh no, is my art is this when it all comes back together, you know?
I think that this the X should show up in the first part of
Yeah.
the movie, but you don't know that he's a cop or anything about this. You just know that he's the X.
Ah, okay. So you get
And so
introduced.
he's just like part of the story as the X, and he meets the con man
Yeah.
guy. Um, and then when the con man dies, the X is like, "Oh, this I know who this guy is. He
Yeah.
was, dating my
Right.
ex-wife." And that's how he knows that she's involved in this somehow.
So
Um, but again, he has no
he goes
evidence.
back to her house to like casually investigate, but it turns back into a rom-com because they're, you know, starting to get back together.
Right. They have to spend a lot of time together because he's like has to question
Right.
her, and it's like a whole dance because they both know that she killed
Right.
him, but like he like they can't. Neither of them is gonna
Right.
say it. Um, yeah. There's a. This is only vaguely related, but there's a SNL sketch that was made like several years ago, before the actual Black Widow movie came out. But it was like a Marvel Black Widow movie. Like Scarlett Johansson was the guest star for this
Yeah.
episode, so it was like a Black Widow, but it was like everything is like it was like a Marvel knows women, so we made the Black Widow movie. It's just like a total rom com, or like Black Widow like breaking her heel as she walks down the street, and like, um, I think, yeah, I don't remember if like one of the whoever her love interest in the actual movies is like a Bruce Banner, like the
Yeah.
Hulk is like her love interest in the sketch as well. Um, but that's what this is making me think of, where it's just like the light breezy music, but it's just like not it doesn't fit. Like it's like this like gritty crime
Yeah.
drama, but with like somehow it's just like a rom com, and you're like, what is going on? Their hands brush together as they go for, I don't know, the salt or something
Yeah.
like that. Honestly, it's gonna be one of those rom coms where the two characters like hate each other up until the moment where they start
For
making
sure.
out. So, um, all right. So we've kind of got most of the story here. We've got a very good structure. What's the kind of climax and ending?
So it's got to come back down to the choice again of like, do I, turn this woman in for stealing all these plants and now for murdering somebody? Or
Uh-huh.
do we like run away together, or something? Or like, because
No, I have it. He has to.
I was just going to say, like, if he does turn her in, she is presumably just going to like go to jail for the rest of her life for murder. So like, it's a very much
Right.
like the only way to be
And
with her is
plant-related
yeah.
crimes.
The only way to be with her is to like, you know, be an accomplice in this crime now.
See, I feel like for his character, like that's gonna be really unsatisfying for him to just like
Yeah.
give in. What I think is like he's investigating, and then he comes across evidence, or he at some point he somehow has to make a choice. Like he finds out that she's in danger, and he has to kind of make a choice between going to save her and like, finding the evidence that he's been looking for or something like that. And it's him he goes to save her, and the movie just kind of ends with like them making up because like he saved her life.
Yeah.
And we don't really actually ever explore what does he do now? Does he not turn her in? Is he just a criminal? Like, how does that
Right.
work? Until the sequel, obviously.
Right.
When they're broken up to begin with because of this.
Yeah, they in the beginning of the sequel, they broke up again because it turns out that he didn't turn her in, but the evidence did get picked up. And so she's now in prison, and
they break up because it turns out he was actually also a con man who's playing a really long game of being her ex-husband and like police officer who saved her life.
It just keeps flipping back and forth between like layers of deception and like crime thriller, and
it's like the Key and Peele Mexican standoff.
Yeah, it turns out I was the con man.
Why don't you ask yourself?
Brilliant.
All right. Cool. I think that's a good ending for that short story. We're at an hour 5 here in our recording. You good to conclude here?
First, if we can, we need a title.
A title for the
movie.
Oh, for the movie. Yeah. Okay. Let's think of some good plant puns.
Yeah.
Plant romance.
So the first thing that came to mind, this was before we did any of the like actual story stuff. This was just from the prompt. So I don't know if it fits anymore, but the title that came to me was A Prickly Affair.
Okay. I like the direction you're going. I was thinking something like along the lines of like every rose has its thorn, or like the rose and the thorn, or something like that. Something like that like gives the dual nature of like the sweet part, but also the Oh, but it is succulents. It is succulents. That's true. That might make prickly a little bit more on the nose for that.
I was. I don't think it became particularly relevant what the plants were, but yeah, going for the cactus in the prompt.
The cactus's spines.
Cactuses do
that's kind of dumb.
Flower. So it could be
the desert flower.
Yeah, something specific like that. I'm trying to think, because like you don't have to like water succulents that often. They're found in like harsh environments. It's like the hardy.
There's no good title you can come up with that starts with the hardy, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I don't.
The hardy what? Finish it.
I don't think it's there.
The hardy cactus.
The hardy cactus.
There's the hardy. There's definitely some inappropriate puns to be made here. All right. Well, I think A Prickly Affair is a good one a good thing. A good kind of a. It's not like wow, this is like the perfect title, but it's a good, solid, on the nose title.
No Sherlock Holmes, but nothing could be.
Yes, tragically, it is not. It is no Sherlock Holmes.
Let's end the episode.
I want to see what my phone transcribed Sherlock Holmes as. It transcribed it as Sherlock. So the first time it did Sherlock bulbs, like light bulbs, and the second time it did Sherlock Bolnes, Bolnes.
Is that a word?
I don't think so. Anyway, all right. That is our episode, our double feature. Thanks for listening again, everyone. Send us an email. Let us know your thoughts or what you would like us to do in future episodes, or just tell us what you would do if you had a 4-year-old box of cereal in your house.
You would obviously eat it.
Hopefully not eat it is your answer. So, yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
And this has been
Joel.